Alright, so when I'm starting my thumbnailing process in Photoshop, I'm not really doing anything too crazy. I'm not using any special brushes or anything. I do start out with typically I start out with a white background and I'll kind of end up changing that later. And I just make a new layer and I draw on top of that. I do have a fairly large image size, so I'm 3000 by 3000 pixels, and I just find that gives me a better stroke when I'm drawing. I'm not really using any crazy brush. I just typically use that one, just that fourth one in. I do want to make sure that I have shape dynamics on and my size jitter set to pin pressure, and I also want to turn on transfer and have my opacity jitter set to pin pressure, and that basically makes my opacity and size being controlled by the pressure of my pin. So a few helpful hotkeys whenever you're painting. I generally hold my hand over the B and E key. So the B key is your brush and the E key is your eraser. So the B and E are very helpful. Spacebar is helpful to kind of pan around. I keep my zoom, if you click on your zoom button there and go over to scrubby zoom, I keep scrubby zoom on, and basically what this lets you do is you hold down the Z key and you can zoom in and out. So if you're zoomed way in, let me draw something on the canvas here. So if you're zoomed way in, you can hold down spacebar and kind of pan around your scene. So all this is pretty basic Photoshop stuff. The other thing I kind of use a lot is Control T, as in Tom, and that's basically free transform. So that lets me manipulate things, transform them freely. And the really cool thing about that is if, say, you have a character, I'll just do a stick figure. Yeah, something really simple. So say I have a character here that I drew, and I would just want to kind of edit what I'm working on. I can hold down my L key. L is lasso, and I can kind of just lasso around a section there, and then I can hit Control T, and that lets me free transform. So that lets me rotate this thing around. Now what's really cool is that I can move the pivot point for this free transform. So I can take that little crosshair right there, if I can grab it, and I can move that to where I want this arm to pivot, and now I can have that pivot around a certain joint. So if I'm drawing the character and I kind of don't like where a certain thing is positioned, I can just do a free transform and move that pivot point where I want it, and kind of move things around. So as I'm thumbnailing, I'm not really doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm not using any special brushes. I'm not doing anything crazy with my layers. I'm just basically drawing. I usually start out with the head. I'm just drawing, and until I feel like I have something that's kind of useful, and then I'll kind of, I'm not really paying attention to detail or anything like that. I'm just kind of drawing, and just very quickly and loosely drawing something that kind of just gets the pose that I want, and then I'll kind of move that up into the corner and start another one. So typically whenever I'm thumbnailing, I will do about maybe 10 thumbnails. Now in the video that in the section that you're about to see of me thumbnailing, I do 4 or 5. I don't really do that many, and that's just because I kind of find something that I like early on. But typically I'll do like 10 or 12 or maybe even 20 thumbnails, and then I'll choose and I'll kind of mess around with those and until I get something that I see potential in. You know, none of these are meant to be like a work of art. They're just meant to be something quick, something very loose that gives me a general idea of the pose I want. You know, I have an idea of the character that I want to create here, like this little elvish traveler character. So I'm just going to keep that kind of loose idea in my mind and try some different things. Yeah, the video that this transitions to is triple speed, so it does go very fast. So it's about 8 minutes long, but in reality, you know, it takes me about 25 minutes to do that. So I don't think it's necessary for you to see it at real time. So so that's why I sped it up. But yeah, again, it's nothing crazy. I'm just using the simple brush right here with shape dynamics, size jitter at pin pressure, transfer pin pressure at opacity jitter pin pressure, and I'm making layers, and every time I want to start a new thumbnail, I'll just make a layer, and I can use my transforms to kind of control that. Again, I'm holding my hands over the E key, which is the eraser, and the B key, which is the brush.